What's up, everybody? We're going to be working on a transfer case motor today. Does your Blazer, Jimmy, Sonoma, Bravada, S10 do this? We'll click it into high. Flashes, then flashes back into 2 high. You go to auto 4-wheel drive, and it stays lit up there. Well, usually does. She's just flashing. Let's start it up. There we go. We got to start it up. But anyways, go back to 4 high. Doesn't do anything. 2 high. There we go. 4 low. It'll flash. Nothing. It might shut off all the lights on you too. Nothing will be lit up. That's something that happens. So let's lift it up and I'll show you why it's doing that. Alright, we're going to come up underneath the vehicle. Right by the front drive shaft here. Transfer case right there. This is our motor right here. You got wires, I believe it's 4 wires right there. And you also have a 6-wire pin right here. Alright, there's a couple different styles. But for this setup, that's what it is. And then this right here, the 4-wire connector, runs down right there. See? All right, we have power to the wires. You can have somebody sitting there and change the function. The main power wire is always lit up, tested the ground, ground's good. We're all good, but this motor makes no noise. Now, if your buttons light up like that, that means your button switch isn't bad. It's common for those to go out. But that switch is good. It's the motor that's bad. You can have somebody try to switch it into 4 high and everything. You should at least hear a little click or feel a little click in here. But it's doing nothing. No noise. You can tap it with a hammer or whatever, try to get it moving, but no, it doesn't do anything. So we're gonna work on changing this out. You can see it's pretty open. We got our bolts and everything, except for this drive shaft's in the way. And we got very little room to bring it down. I think to make this job easier, I want to take that drive shaft out. And we want to take this shield off. We got a couple of nuts here. Looks like 13 millimeter. And we got another one right here on the back side. So we're gonna take that shield off. Our drive shaft, looks like we got 10 or 11 millimeter bolts right there to take off. So let's get to doing that. Taking the drive shaft bolts out, the 11 millimeter 6-point socket. I got a little screwdriver here to hold the drive shaft still. And I've only got 1 more to go. They're on there pretty tight. Definitely don't want to snap these off. And then you're going to be working on extracting some stuff. Oh, my screwdriver just slipped. But they're on there pretty tight. If you have to, use a little heat or spray them down with PB Blaster from the inside and outside. But just don't snap those guys off. Alright, I used a little pry bar and a little hammer. Little PB Blaster, and got that drive shaft. The bearing cups are right here. The top one wanted to stay in. Bottom one came right out with the pry bar, but the top one stayed in, and the drive shaft came down a little bit out of the bearing cap, so I took it off. And then I didn't want this one to fall down while I was prying, so I took this one off too, just so I don't lose any bearings. But you can compress this drive shaft a bit. It goes backwards towards the transfer case. We're just gonna slide it over out of the way as much as possible. We're gonna have to turn this yoke. We can turn our wheel to do that. And there we go, now it's out of the way of the yoke. And now we can work on getting this side out. Alright, so now sometimes it takes a little bit of coercing, but you can see the splines on the transfer case now. I sprayed it down with some PB Blaster in there and gave it some gentle taps. Used the pry bar. Now we have it sliding. Don't really want to hurt that seal, but we have it sliding off the shaft now. We're gonna come forward with it. Got a little more. We're gonna keep on working it off of there. Maybe it's still pretty stiff. Put a little lubrication in there. But anyways, that shaft's about to fall down. Our drive shaft is off. Just resting on the exhaust and stuff there. We got our wiring harnesses unclipped, the two of them. 4-prong and the 6-prong. And we got 3, it looks like 15mm bolts. And the transfer case motor here, 1, 2, 3. Let's get those off. Alright, we got the motor out of there. Get those 3 bolts off, then you just give it a little tap on the back of this. It should pop off. There's our gasket right there. And we're going to take a 15mm wrench and make sure this transfer case shifts. Should feel springy if you move it clockwise. You go counterclockwise, you should be able to shift the gears without too much effort. Here we go. We'll put it right back in the position it was for reinstalling that motor. Clean up any dirt and grime you got there. Alright, we got our motor back up there. I cleaned off the shaft here. It's pretty dirty and rusty, and sprayed it with PB Blaster so the drive shaft slips on easier. That's all bolted up. Wiring harnesses are plugged in, those two. Put a little lube right here where it fits into the slot on the transfer case, just because it's a tight squeeze, so a little lube. And yeah, make sure the slot on the transfer case, the shifter, lines up with the motor. It should be at an angle slightly like this. You don't adjust the motor. If you have to adjust the transfer case with that 15mm wrench. All right, we're gonna put the drive shaft back on, hook the U-joint back up. I'll clean those little grooves out in the yoke so the bearing caps fit in there smoothly. There's some rust in there. And bolt those up tight. Then we'll test and see if the 4-wheel drive works again. Here we go, guys, moment of truth. There we go, switch right into 4 high and put it in neutral, switch it into 4 low, and we can actually hear that clunk every time it switches. Now, we couldn't hear that before, it was doing nothing. And there we go. Now we don't have to program these transfer case motors on this one, the newer ones. You don't have to program when swapping them, the updated ones. So we are good to go. I just got to patch up an exhaust leak on this thing and call it a day.